Hello everybody, this is a quick video that's going to cover some of the terminology we've been covering at the beginning of class here in Stats 101. And in this video we're going to talk about cases and variables, and in regards to variables we're going to talk about what is a quantitative variable versus a categorical variable. And also I want to talk briefly about what's an explanatory variable and a response variable. Okay, so let's get started. I'm looking at some data here, and this data is student survey. And first, what we're really looking at, if I kind of highlight a few things here, across the top are all the titles that we're going to talk about. And this is saying like, what year are you in school? What's your gender? Do you smoke? So on. So each person that answered this, like this person right here said they're a senior, they're a male, they don't smoke. They are a case. They're a subject that has been surveyed. And this is another case. We'll call this the first case, the second case, the third case. Each one of these is a case, and there's a couple hundred here. So the case is going to be the subjects of study. All these other pieces, like the year, the gender, whether they smoke, what kind of award would they want if they could have a choice between an Olympic, an Academy Award, or a Nobel Prize? Those are the variables. So cases are the people for this survey. The variables are the questions they were asked on the survey. Now, of all the variables, we can categorize them into two fields. One is a quantitative variable, and that simply means a variable that has essentially has a number applied to it. So like somebody's weight is quantitative, or somebody's height is quantitative, the SAT scores, so on. Or a categorical variable. So that would be, you have a choice, three categories. You can have an Olympic award, an Academy Award, or a Nobel Prize. That's a categorical. Or what's your gender? Male, female, so on. That's categorical. Okay? Usually categorical do not have numbers, however they can. So for example, we could say male is going to be represented with a 0 and female is a 1. So if you chose 0, that means you're a male. So this would just be 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. It's still categorical. Even though we're using a number, there's really only two choices, two categories to choose from for this particular selection. All right, so it'd still be categorical. Now, the last thing I want to talk about regarding variables in this video is what types of variables you can have. And there's explanatory variable and response variable. So first we need to look at the data and maybe ask a question that we can answer or begin to investigate from this data. And I'm just going to kind of grab at one here, and I'm going to say, I wonder how the amount of television viewing affects a student's GPA. All right. So how much does TV affect your grades? Now I don't know what the answer is to this, but I'm going to make an assumption that if you watch, a lot of TV, your grades might suffer because of that. So my explanatory variable is the one that's explaining the result. All right. So if you watch a lot of TV, the result is going to be a lower GPA. If you watch very little TV, the result is going to be a higher GPA. So this explains the result. All right. So explanatory variable is the TV viewing. The response variable is the result. All right. The effect caused by TV viewing. What is your GPA? That's the response variable. So TV explanatory, GPA response. And we could probably come up with several questions from this data and get a different explanatory variable and a different response variable depending on how we ask the question. I want to mention really quick, because it's probably terminology you've seen in the past. Explanatory variables are the same as independent variables in experiments. All right. So an independent variable is the variable that essentially you choose to compare. Like I'm going to choose a low TV viewing versus high TV viewing, whereas the response variable is the dependent variable, and the dependent variable is trying to figure out what happens because of the independent variable, right? And in this case, how does the grade change? All right. One final piece, when eventually we get to graphing some of this type of some of these types of questions, the explanatory variable, which is the independent variable, is going to go on the x-axis of a graph, whereas the response variable, and that's the dependent variable, the response is always going to go on the y-axis of a graph, and we'll get more into that later on. All right, if you have questions, as always, feel free to get in touch with me. Hopefully this has been helpful. See ya.